So, now here's another good one. Power. What's power, Thor? Power. Let's talk about power. Power is the ability to influence in this context.
Okay.
If you have the ability to influence through networks, through your ability to get along with people, have open exchange, this is the exercise of power to get things done that most people could not get done. And so I wanted to make sure and mention that's really what power is that ability to exercise influence and project influence over distances and time. And then, of course, there's passion. Passion is doing what you love and loving life. Having the love wherever you're at, even if it's the shittiest circumstances, to recognize it's good to be alive. And so those are the skills of a dominant masculine presence that I really go into. Now think of it this way. When I say you only need any 3 of these to score above average, and you'll be better than 80% of the men out there. Imagine this. Imagine physicality, having excellent physical shape. Imagine having a problem-solving skill, and then having prosperity on top of it. Okay. Can anybody think Brandon Carter?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I can name 3 right there. Now, he probably does better in some of the others, but that's just 3.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be those 3. Let's think of it this way. Let's do this. And this is where you might say, Brandon's an alpha.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it this way. How about you have psychology, problem-solving skills, and you have prosperity and power? Oh, maybe that's Jeff Bezos. Maybe.
Okay.
No. How about a dominant masculine presence? It spans alpha, beta. And this is why it works.
Okay.
This is why you can be a diplomat, but they always choose diplomats that have a dominant masculine presence. They're the best.
Yeah.
They're the Henry Kissinger. They're those guys that do that. And I could go through the list. I mean, I could probably call out every one of those skills from Bill Gates down to who's the next athlete out there that's just rocking it. I could do either way, you know, and I could go through the list and probably call out Andrew Tate's on here or any of the guys like that.
Yeah.
But this is what I've discovered over the last 5 years. You can use alpha, beta, sigma, and all that stuff, but it's not complete. It doesn't give you a complete picture if you really want to understand how a man projects his presence into the world. But with this skill set, you can. And I go into the detail in the book.
Okay.
And then on top of that, I go into something called emotional durability, which is really just emotional regulation. You know, if you can regulate your emotions and choose to use your emotions when you want to, both good and bad, you tend to live longer and have a higher and lifetime income than those who cannot. Interesting food for thought. And I cite the studies in there as well. So I thought you guys might find that interesting. And hopefully you got a chance to listen to kind of a raw audio book that's not available yet.
Yeah, straight from
man?
you. Actually, like, I wanted to, like, follow into, like, more, but I want to pick up with the book also. I don't know, like, for me, it's better vision for me to pick up some pages from the book, and then I'll follow up with the audio. But, yeah, no,
you
good.
got a book now.
Yeah, book now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's only been out for 3 weeks. So,
Okay.
I mean, I promised you guys when I was here last that you'd have the first crack at it.
Yeah, for sure.
You treated me really good, and I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you
I'm
doing
kind
that.
of a loyal sort of guy for
Oh,
guys,
yeah,
so,
of course.
you know, throw it back out like that.
Actually, I mean, it looks good.
Yeah. I'll say real quick, you got to answer a couple questions for us?
Sure.
All right.
So, in your definition, does, you know, how society, like, is always demasculating men nowadays and stuff like that, always putting them down, just being masculine gets labeled being toxic regardless, just as a defensive mechanism for the actual people who can't handle it. So do you think toxic masculinity, does it really exist? Or is it just a defense that they just...
No. You're going to love this. I actually talk about this in the APA's decision to label masculinity as toxic. But without getting too far into the weeds, this has been done because it's a complex issue, but it's been done because, well, it's been done for economic reasons. Women spend money, men don't. Women shop, men buy. It's a very different thing.
Okay, I like that.
That's a component on a high end. The other component is that essentially we had Marxist ideals and Malthusian theory being promoted from the 60s onward. And it's a sad thing because when you combine the two, you have essentially a ideology of oppressed and oppressor, coupled with a ideology that says there's far too many human beings on the planet, and something must be done because we're a virus on the face of the planet, which is complete bullshit. You couple those two together in something like an academic system, and you get this vicious, femme-centric social order that views men as oppressors that must be subjugated. It is a supremacy movement, and it's backed up by Marxist ideology because it serves their end. There is such a thing as useful idiots in Marxist ideology. I should call it a theology because it is kind of that. And it's by any means necessary to get to the end. And so, look, let them reduce the population by emasculating men and calling men toxic, shaming men. I mean, sign language came out of this. And I don't mean American Sign Language. I mean shaming, insult, guilt, and the need to be right, which is prevalent, you know. And I think it was a plan. And I don't want to offend anybody here, but it started in the black community in the 60s. You know, the black community used to have an 88% success rate on their marriages prior to 1965. They did not get divorced, and they had solid families. What happened? Well, everybody gets to feel that now. And what's been done there is shameful. I think it should have never been done. And we can thank feminism and Marxism in my book. You know, I think economic prosperity would have done much better. I talk a little bit about why, you know, actualizing yourself and capitalism, earn your way, is the best way, really, because you have every tool in capitalism, utilizing capitalism to make yourself a success. Every tool that's ever existed. That's a quote from Robert Kiyosaki. And with Marxism, you're a victim or you're an oppressor. That's all there is. What else is there? It sounds a lot like feminism, isn't it? You're either the woman that's a victim or you're the man that's the oppressor that must be acted against as part of the revolution. So there's been a huge push for men to be essentially taken down several notches. And you want to really get your tinfoil hat on? Let's just say, I mentioned this in the book, but let's just say there's no conspiracies. But the evidence is here that in just the last 50 years, there's two indicators that's not good for men and it's not good for women. Testosterone has fallen in men 45% on whole, straight up. Ready?
Yeah. Good.
So testosterone has fallen 45% in men. And the other one, I was reading a book, shoot, it slips my mind right now, but there's a book that just came out about sperm counts over the last 50 years have fallen 47%. And it's predicted in the book, if it continues at the current rate, which seems to be a linear rate for sperm counts, there'll be no sperm left to make anybody pregnant by 2055.
Dang.
So something's going on, and it's just not time. Yeah, the book is called Countdown. Countdown. Yeah, I reference it in the book. Famous doctor. In fact, she's quite a lefty, but she did the research, and it is what it is. What's going on here? Testosterone down. What's going on here? Hormones are the messengers that travel throughout our body at the speed of blood that make us who we are, and they affect our feelings, our moods, and our emotions. And oh, by the way, I break down feelings, moods, and emotions for men in here because it's very confusing. Nobody's taught a base way to deal with them.
That's
And this is interesting because I did a lot of interviews and a lot of consults here, and I found a concept that men kind of take to better than women. And the concept is this. When I talk about feelings, most people interchange that with emotions. But when you look up the actual definition of feelings, what do you see? Something felt in the body. It is actually a sensation. I don't go like this and say, I emoted that can. No, I felt the can.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a reason words mean things. Feelings can generate emotions. So feelings are all felt very quickly in the brain. I don't know if you know anything about the triune brain theory, but, you know, at the level of feeling, it's that basal ganglia. It's going. It's that lizard brain. You know something touched you. A hot stove did. Get away, right?
Yeah.
The next level is to emote. Emote has some very, very strong actions. They induce additional chemistry to be generated in your body. You know, because when you have a strong emotion, do you not get the goosebumps? Do you not get something generating in your stomach? It's pretty wild,
Starts pumping.
right?
True.
And this is also the chemistry that you'll hear from women is we clicked, we had chemistry. That's part of it. So feelings come first, and then there's this generation of emotions. This is the midbrain. This is that limbic system firing off. It's very quick. And it makes sense evolutionary when you think about it. Having those two systems in place when there's monsters after you and bad things happen is a quick way to stack the odds in your favor to get out of the way.
Sure.
Fight,
Yeah.
flight, freeze, right?
Yeah.
But us humans have something like no other animal has to the degree we do and the thickness we do, and that's the frontal neocortex. It's like 12 millimeters thick. You know, that's amazing. They also call that the human mammalian brain, or the mammalian brain, or the upper mammalian brain. And what resides there, they think, is a lot of personality and or mathematical cognition or 3D spatial concepts, logic, rationale, for which you can apply the emotions from the feelings you just generated. And when you do that, what do you end up with? Moods. So keep in mind, feelings last from seconds to minutes. You couple that with emotions, you generate emotion, they can last from minutes to hours.
Yeah.
You couple that with your frontal neocortex, logical, rational thinking, you end up with moods, which can last from hours to days to weeks.
True.
So when you start to put that together, we can start to tackle how to regulate the big three. I call them the big three emotions, which plague most guys, which is it's anger, fear, and sadness. And if we can learn to regulate those, dude, you're more than halfway there.
Yeah.
We're